What makes a great business owner is just willing to just go through a wall, just keep working, be really hard working and passionate, believe what you're doing. I think if you feel strongly and have the passion for what you're doing and have good work ethic to just get stuff done, there's really nothing that can stop you.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Society podcast. If you are new here, I'm Alexa Cawley. I'm the founder of Forever Friday Consulting. I spent 10 years in the corporate wellness space, working for companies like Lululemon and SoulCycle, and 4 years ago decided to start my own business and bring that expert marketing advice to everybody. On this podcast, we talk about everything from pricing, partnerships, everything that's going to grow your business and allow you to have fun doing it. If you enjoy this podcast, I would highly recommend that you hop into the Friday Society membership. You can cancel anytime. It is $50 a month, and we go way deeper into all of the topics here. So I go into live calls, webinars, workbooks, all pertaining to how to implement the learnings into your business. So you can check all that stuff out in the show notes, and let's get right to the episode. What's up, everybody? I am so excited for you to listen to this episode today. This was my first ever interview with 3 people. So there were literally 4 of us in this interview, and I've never done that before. And I gotta say, I was a little bit nervous about it, and it actually turned out so great. I got to meet with the 3 phenomenal founders of Wildling. You guys have probably seen their videos on TikTok. They went viral for having injection alternative ways to use a gua sha. So they have a really amazing stone. It's called the Empress Stone, and it's like a gua sha, or it is gua sha, but it's shaped a little bit differently. And so there just is a lot of really cool science and Eastern medicine that influences this company. So I was really fascinated to talk to them. And of course, who doesn't want to look, a little more snatched and depuffed, and get those alternatives to injections. I'm going to be 33 in a few weeks, and I have never gone down that route yet. And I'm a little nervous too. I like to stay natural where I can. So I was really selfishly excited for this episode. And then the team actually sent me some products afterwards that I got to try out. So the skincare that we talk about is amazing. The stone is really, really cool and really does work for depuffing. So that was super sweet. So thank you, Team Wildling. I really appreciated that. But the episode is just it's really an amazing founder story of like true grit and deciding they were going to do something and going for it. So I know that you guys really resonate with stories like that. I do too. So I know you're going to love this and you're going to fall in love with these founders. They did offer a discount code if you guys want to shop any of their products. It is Friday Society, and it's 10% off. So I will drop that in the show notes for you so that you guys can, check out the products that we're talking about. But you're going to love it. This founder story is just phenomenal. And all of the trainings and years of experience that went into the 3 of these women meeting and forming this company was truly inspiring. So here you go. I hope you love it. Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Society. I am here today with 3 amazing founders, and this is going to be the first podcast where we actually have a 4-way going on. But I am here with the 3 amazing founders of Wildling, which is an LA-based skincare company, and we are going to talk about everything that happened starting this company, scaling the company to the viral sensation that it is right now, and just hearing all of the advice that they have for you female founders. So let's get right into it. We're here to welcome Britta, Jill, and Gianna. Welcome, guys. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. Amazing. All right. Do you each want to introduce yourselves a little bit, your role in the company, and what your background was before Wildling?
Sure. I'm happy to get started. My name is Gianna Delatorre. I am a licensed acupuncturist, and I've been in the healing and wellness space since about 2003, I would say, maybe a little bit sooner even, which is when I first started studying yoga. And then that really led me to India, and then to study Ayurveda and Chinese medicine. And I also do intuitive healing and facial acupuncture, which was really what led me to Wildling, because I love gua sha, facial gua sha, and just really felt that there was a lot to offer as far as an alternative to injectables and some more invasive methods with the skin. So that kind of cuts to becoming one of the co-founders of Wildling.
Amazing.
My name is Jill, and one of the co-founders of Wildling. And yes, my background is in the beauty industry. I've been working in beauty doing primarily product development for over 20 years, and also study herbalism. And it was really the combination of my background in the beauty industry as well as my passion for plant medicine and, these alternative health and wellness remedies for beauty that really led me also, like Gianna mentioned, to really want to be, bring this brand to life with Britta and with Gianna, and both of their backgrounds really being so important to that mission.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Cool.
And this is Britta, and I'm a holistic esthetician and have been a licensed esthetician for almost 20 years, which is bonkers to me. And I was really drawn to beauty through self-care, through like stewing in the bath for hours, doing my like Body Shop face masks in the 90s, and just really as a very anxious teen who had some PTSD and some other stuff going on, sort of like very naturally and intuitively found ways to self-soothe through beauty practices. And I understand now exactly what was happening with the vagus nerve and different sort of practices helping to downregulate the nervous system. But at the time, it was all just very intuitive, and it was sort of like, I really like this. I'm really drawn to this, engaging the senses, the aromas, the feelings. And I always really tried to bring that into the treatment room as well, like really creating a beautiful sort of safe space and experience. And funnily enough, tried to leave the beauty world many times. But I was like, I'm going to be a yoga teacher now, yoga teacher, and then meditation, and then health coaching. And ultimately, all of that just served to kind of like bring a more holistic perspective into my treatment room. And so rather than leaving, as I thought I was going to do, I was just gathering more tools and resources and bringing them back into my treatment room and my work with clients. And Wildling feels like a way to really bring those experiences that Gianna and I, like to try to facilitate for clients to people at home so they can do for themselves, and teaching them how to use tools and creating products that really invite in the senses, and for people to hopefully create that sort of wellness ritual, self-care, truly that vibe at home.
I love that. Now, did you guys know each other prior to finding the company or founding the company, or was this, how did you all meet? What happened?
Kind of a cosmic connection of the three of us coming together in Britta's facial gua sha class, and really kind of creating this synergy within that space, and feeling like that was the perfect place for us to kind of come together and co-create. So there was really like a synergy born in that moment in which we all met. So we didn't know each other very well before, but
you knew of each other.
Knew of each other, and that's where we embarked on our mission to found Wildling.
Wow. So what was the first time you met? At class, or like what happened?
So Britta had a facial gua sha class, and Jill actually went to the facial gua sha class. Cool. And they kind of connected in that moment, and I'll let them speak to it. But then with me kind of working in the space, I had met Jill separately, and she was really the person who brought us together because of these similar endeavors that we had in our individual healing practices, and kind of created a place for us to meet and start discussing developing our own tool. And obviously she comes from a background of product formulation, so creating incredible products that also accompany the ritual of facial gua sha that really felt like they were really individual and really special, really unique, but also like worked together in this synergistic way to deliver the best possible results. So I would say, I don't know, you guys can add to that kind of conceptual story, but
I'll jump in because I thought it was a really funny first meeting. Um, I was teaching a facial, I was New York based. My practice was New York based at the time, and I had really gone down the rabbit hole of facial massage. I became obsessed with facial massage and facial gua sha and all sorts of anything tissue manipulation based for the face. I was like flying across the country, going to different courses.
Wow.
I was in a zone.
What was your like introduction to that? What made you obsessed with it?
Facial gua sha and Dr. Potter's manual lymphatic drainage.
Cool.
And then there
Awesome.
were many other tools and techniques to
Mhm.
follow, but facial gua sha really stole my heart. It just felt like such a special modality. And after a few years of being with that practice in the treatment room and performing hundreds, if not thousands of treatments, had begun hosting small workshops and classes, and I was still really bad at it. Like I was really nervous and I'd be kind of like a little shaky.
Yeah.
And I had gone out to the West Coast to teach a class in LA and was seeing clients there. And Jill saw an advertisement or heard about the course that was going to be happening in a way that was also very kind of like intuitive and kismet.
Yeah.
And so I teach the workshop and I'm kind of like, okay, did it. Great. Awesome. And she approaches me after and she's like, okay, I've got some questions. I'm like, okay, great. Yeah. And she's like, well, you're kind of teaching with this like generic tool. I'm like, oh, yeah, like it's, what I can get my hands on, like it's fine. And she's like, well, and this like kind of generic oil. I'm like, well, yeah. I was really kind of taking it as a criticism, and she was sort of like, you should have like a better tool and like a better oil. Like you're talking about all these benefits of increasing the
Wow.
microcirculation and like the exchange of blood and lymph in the tissues being improved, and like there's herbs that can support that. And I was like, okay, like
Mhm.
thanks for the feedback. And she's like, no, like we can make that. I was like, oh, that's where we're
Amazing.
going with this. And
Amazing.
so it sort of like created this spark. But initially, I was just really nervous after teaching a workshop and thought that I was getting like some constructive feedback.
I love that. Jill, what was going on in your head when you were having this
For
conversation with
me, it was
Britta?
like the total opposite. I was like, I had heard about the workshop. I was at Mercado Sagrado, and this was years ago because it was in like what 2016, or I mean, it was before Guasha was like people
Yeah.
knew what Guasha was here in the United States, really, unless you were in practicing Chinese medicine.
It might
Mhm.
have even been 2015.
Yeah, it
Wow.
was early on. So this like technique I like never heard of it before. And so I was at Mercado Sagrado, and one of the girls there was actually owns the IM studio where she was doing the workshop, and she was like, "Oh, you should come to this workshop at my studio this like weekend or whatever." And so I was like, "That sounds so cool. Like I'd never heard of it." And she's like, "I'm so obsessed with it. It's so awesome." And so I like made the effort to go over there and check out the workshop. And then I just was like, during the workshop was like, this is like, it's so amazing. Like I was just really taken by Britta's passion for how much it's really supported her and her practice and her clients and the effects and just like the history behind it, and that it's been practiced for thousands of years, and just such a beautiful. I just was really, and with my background in herbalism, just it felt like just this amazing practice that I really was drawn to and thought that could really be taken to more people. And so
Mhm.
that's when I approached Britta after and was like, like we should create something more than just what you're doing, not just,
Wow.
but like, let's make this into something bigger.
Yeah.
And so that's really what my mind was coming. And I wasn't working at the time. I had just had my child. I was like taking time off for my children to have
Mhm.
babies. And I also was like in that space where Britta had mentioned, where I'm like, I think I might not go back to that
Mhm.
world, of working
Yeah.
in the beauty industry. And so that's when I was like really dove into herbalism and all of that. And then it just pulled me back in, I was like,
Mhm.
this is like, so it just felt so strongly like, so what it became for me and for Wildling in general, I think is like this workshop, Washa was really the seed, was the impetus for like this, inspiration behind what we're all talking about here, which is like holistic care, self-care as beauty, making time for yourself, loving yourself, being able to take these amazing natural healing methods home with you and doing at home. And so it's not just about that specific impetus, which was gua sha, but it's like this bigger, encompassing brand that really, looks at like self-care in general as beauty and like holisticness and like treating the whole body and the emotional and the physical, and that this is all connected and totally correlates to like how your skin behaves. That's really what Wildling, became from that beginning little seed.
I love that. What an amazing story. I definitely want to get into the science behind the lymph and everything there, because I think that's super fascinating and people will absolutely be interested in that and hearing that story. But talk to me about what happened next. So you guys had this conversation and you were like, okay, we could do this, right? Like, were you thinking skincare? Were you thinking tools? Like what happened next? Were you like, okay, let's get coffee. Let's outline some next steps. What happened?
I think the skincare was always part of it. We launched initially with a mist and an oil to go along with the tool, because Britta, as she was teaching in our class, that's part of what, why I felt like we could create something bigger with this, was because of the fact that you have to use an oil on your skin. It's not just a tool. You can't just use the tool. You need to use an oil too, for it to for you to properly do the technique. So that's, where we kind of like started as this little kind of collaboration that became, it's kind of a windy road, but it became, and as Gianna mentioned, like her background within acupuncture and gua sha really, wanted to reach out to Gianna to have her be a part of it as well. And, we built it from there. So it was, coming, working with small farms to find these herbs that have been used and practiced in beauty for, for centuries, and very, very traditional methods, to create the oils and the mist that we had initially. And really bringing in that traditional herbalism and then the Chinese medicine. And that's kind of where we started it, and we started to build it, and then came up, as we, what I had just mentioned is like building this bigger mission for the brand, and like, what would that look like as we extended on? So yeah, and then just started working on, all the stuff. We're completely bootstrapped. We haven't ever raised money to date. So we started really, just always have been really scrappy and wear a lot of hats and just kind of like add as we grow, where it's needed, and that sort of thing. So, it's been like a really scrappy bootstrap business from the very beginning.
Amazing. That's definitely the majority.
From Jill's living room. Like the dining room table turned into like the packing zone for our first holiday season of orders, like recruiting friends and family to like come pack and ship orders.
That it's so fun though. Like, I was talking to somebody about this earlier. Like, both my parents are entrepreneurs. I remember doing that with my mom when I was like 7, 8 years old, packing up like holiday gifts for her clients. And it is fun when everyone gets involved, and it gives you those memories of like, remember when we were building, in our first holiday season. I'm always a fan of doing things the bootstrap way and the scrappy way. So I love that. I think that's so fun. Now, Gianna, I want to ask you. So, Jill, you mentioned, going to farms and sourcing, the different ingredients. Gianna, you having such an Eastern medicine background, how did that sort of come into play with like the different herbs you wanted to use and, the sourcing of the ingredients? Like, walk me through sort of how that related to your Eastern medicine background.
Yeah, honestly, it's like Jill was really the master of the formulations and pulling together these incredible ingredients that were, not just really special because of their historic use, but because of the fact that they were like regional and local, which also factors into the sustainability of the formulations as well. So using a lot of farms in the Pacific Northwest, I would say like my initial contribution to Wildling was really in the tool design and a lot of the creative approach to Wildling. I also have a background in art. So I did study art and have done years and years of body work in addition to acupuncture. So one of like my love stories with gua sha happened when I was like I don't know, what do you call it? Like an intern in acupuncture school. I wasn't able to really do very much, but they kind of put a gua sha tool in my hand on day one. And because I had so much experience as a yogi and a body worker, I was able to put my hands on people and really deliver transformative results like from that first day in the treatment room.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like where I was always taking notes and learning, like, how would I want like a dream gua sha tool to be designed? So with the design of our Empress Stone, there really came a day in our product development where we're like, okay, well, we need this like drawing and this design. And so I created that first draft of the Empress Stone, which then we began like crafting with our factory and like really working hands on so many different drafts and sending it to New York so Britta could test and use it in the treatment room, and then using it on our own and refining all the little details like the angles of the U edge and making sure that it was just right and the right
that's okay.
and the right weight. That formulation, that process like went, I would say it took as long as kind of like the formulation of those initial products, because we were so committed to having like the best possible tool. So that was my initial contribution, and really like a lot of the creative POV that we had. I started running our social, and Britta started creating incredible tutorials and posting them in there. And we created like this rhythm of putting our products out there from the beginning. It's funny to kind of like think back to those first days because we're in such a different place now. But that's like the roots of where the brand started, was with that initial Empress collection.
I love that. And what a cool thing to be like, this is good, but it could be better. Let me just sketch it and see what happens. I love that so much. Now, okay. So Jill, you mentioned that gua sha, and Britta, you did too. You know, everyone sort of did that. Gua sha in 2015 was a very unknown sort of thing. Now, I'm really fascinated in like Gianna, you said it was used in the treatment room, right? So like what gua sha definitely had a moment where it became this like rose quartz thing on TikTok and everyone was using it. But can you guys sort of explain a little bit about the actual science, the actual like the science behind the gua sha and lymph and what it does for your body, you know, from a holistic level?
Yeah. So gua sha for the face and for beauty in this country, it's been having a moment for the past few years, but gua sha has been around for thousands of years and translates to scraping sand in Chinese, and has been one of the initial like, pillars of Chinese medicine for probably 1,000 years. And what it does on the body is it actually clears heat and stagnation from the tissues, and is used a lot on the upper back in order to kind of reduce fever, to relieve muscle pain and tension. There's even some indications for it to revive consciousness. It also creates the marks on the body, not the face. We don't use that kind of pressure on the face, but it creates these marks on the body that are called sha. And sha looks like those little dots that you get from something like cupping. And so you're increasing the overall health and wellness of the body and the tissue by bringing all of this stagnant energy up to the surface. So one of the ways that I talk about it is like, if you were to scrape the bottom of a lake, you would then kind of turn up all of this debris to kind of the surface, right? And there's a similar principle when you're kind of scraping through the tissue, it brings up whatever's stuck in the muscle layers. So not everyone's going to get a mark from doing gua sha, but if there's a lot of stagnation in the tissues, then you're more likely to have like a really dark mark. And you can even tell as a practitioner by like touching the tissue before you work on it. You're like, okay, well, this is like really going to be leaving a lot of marks on you today. So just like warning people in that way, because you can feel the stagnation occurring in the body. So that's how it works from a TCM perspective. But on the face, it's incredibly gentle. So we're never, ever creating a mark on the face. It's using pressure that's so gentle that it's also inspiring a lot of lymphatic drainage, which is not something that's talked about at all according to traditional Chinese medicine. There's not really a direct translation for that. But we know that it's doing that with that gentle pressure, and especially through Britta's training with like the Vater technique and manual lymphatic drainage, this really gentle pressure on the skin helps to sculpt and depuff the face. So you're actually clearing stagnant lymphatic fluid from the face in order to make the skin less heavy. So it's not like getting weighted down and stretching out as a result of this fluid. So you're also increasing overall health and wellness of the tissues by working in this way. And the face is also a homunculus, which means that you can treat the whole body by treating the face. So anytime that you're doing facial gua sha, you're also opening the flow of energy in the entire body. So that's something that we really love, is that you're not just benefiting your beautiful self, but you're also benefiting your overall health and wellness, which speaks to some of what Britta was talking about earlier with the nervous system regulation and the stimulation of the vagus nerve and this kind of down regulating effect that you're able to have on the whole body. We teach gua sha classes all the time, and we always talk about how like the first half of the face, you can kind of talk your way through it fairly easily. And then the second half of the class, like you really have to like focus and continue to be engaging, because you just start to zone out as a result of the down regulation. It always takes this, like laser sharp focus to kind of stay with it and keep it interesting. Because I personally always want to kind of like zone out and just take a nap at that point. So that's a very long-winded response to kind of the history of gua sha, how it works, but then also what it's doing on the face. And I'll let anyone else chime in for any points that I might have missed with like some of the skin benefits that you can get from it.
I mean, that was so interesting. Thank you. It was not too long at all. I'm very fascinated.
Yeah, and absolutely with all of the meridians and acupressure points in the face, like it really is affecting the whole body. And people always report that in professional treatment, sort of, when you're really in that zone of laying back and receiving, you can kind of tune in a little bit differently perhaps. And people will get up off the treatment table at the end and be like, I felt that throughout my entire body. Like you were only working on my face and head, but I felt that everywhere.
Wow.
And so, yeah, we are manipulating the tissue, and depending on the pressure that you're using, it's going to be at different levels. So, for example, like neck and shoulders or jaw, these areas where we tend to carry a lot of tension, where we carry a lot of stress. You can use a little bit more pressure in those specific areas to facilitate that deeper muscle release. When we're working with that lighter, more superficial pressure, it's more lymph focused. The superficial lymph that we're working on is very like sort of right under the skin and responds to a very light touch. So there's kind of different layers that we can work, and then the fascia as well, especially when we start to get a little bit of that gentle tug on the tissue. We start to get into the fascia layer a little bit more, but all of it is helping to facilitate the healthy exchange of fluids, nutrients, and waste throughout the tissues. So we're helping, to get nutrients and oxygen, good blood flow, good microcirculation to the tissues, to the muscles, to the fascia, the skin, and then also facilitating the removal of waste products via the lymphatic system that will then, go on to be filtered by the kidneys and excreted. So when doing that, of course, bringing that blood and oxygen to the skin is going to give you a glow. That's really going to give you that lit from within glow that really no product can do. And of course, our products help to even, facilitate that even better because they're enhancing, they're full of nutrients, we don't have any essential oils or any chemicals or anything that you wouldn't want on your face. So it just really enhances all of that.
Yeah.
And when we release the muscular tension, not only do you have relief from that, sort of contributing even further to the relaxation, but our tool that we use for TMJ, we get rave reviews for this for folks with jaw tension, TMJ, which is kind of everyone at this point in the world. And, when you're having like headaches and jaw pain and like your face hurts, that it's highly unpleasant. And it just feels really great that we have a little tool and tutorials that can really, really help. We have people writing in saying that they're getting less headaches, they have less pain, they're no longer getting Botox in their masseter, because using a little tool, using some massage there. This is technically a little bit more of a massage tool than gua sha. It's a little bit of a gray area, but having that release not only can help you feel better, but it can also actually start to change your face shape. When you're constantly clenching, that's going to create sort of all this bulkiness throughout the jaw area, and then also kind of traffic jam the lymph so that there's more puffiness. So it's really wild what even a single session for some people can do with facial gua sha. That's when we see these before and afters where it's like, what? How did that happen?
Yeah.
Some muscle release and helping to move stagnant lymph along lymphatic pathways and just helping it to kind of move along out.
Now, you mentioned tutorials, and I imagine as such experienced practitioners, the way you guys are, and you're so close to this, and you're so close to like being with people, right? And like actually doing, doing the massage on people. How has it been for you to sort of put this product out there and not necessarily know how someone's using it? Like, what if they do it quote unquote wrong, right? Like, how have you sort of managed that? And how do you help people make sure they're doing it like quote unquote right?
We teach a lot of workshops. We have a lot online. We have a lot of resources and education. That's still, someone can still watch it and think they're doing the thing and not be doing the thing. But there's a few sort of general guidelines that we try to always reiterate, which are, pressure. So you want the pressure again to be lighter than you think, with the exception of like neck and shoulders, or maybe working into the jaw specifically. But you want to go much lighter than, again, most people think. The second one is direction. So we're moving outwards on the face and downwards on the neck, the front of the neck for lymph drainage, upwards for lifting. So the pressure, the directions, what else is there? The speed. So you don't want to be like going crazy fast. Your tissue's not going to respond. It's not going to create the shift that you want. And if you're being really aggressive, that is when maybe a marking could come up. It's going to be, kind of hard to get there on the face. But if someone's like really just kind of going at it, that's not the type of technique we're going for. So we try and like really reiterate the basics and then offer a whole lot of supplemental tutorials on like working with the eye area, working with the jaw area, working with fine lines and wrinkles, working with lifting, working with firming, working with decongesting the skin. So these different sort of areas of concern or intention, that we see people asking about, or clients commonly coming in with, try and create educational resources around that to guide them through.
I love that. That's amazing. I got my mom a gua sha for like last Christmas. And the next day she had like a bruise on her cheek. And I was like, what happened to your cheek? And she was like, I don't know. I just did the thing you gave me. And I was like, oh, let's watch the YouTube videos. Let's figure something out here. Okay. So let's back up a little bit. Let's go to, you said you were packing orders in Jill's living room. Let's talk about the first few orders that you guys ever, got. Like, how did you start to get this product out into the world? When did you sort of just say like, okay, we're hitting the market, right? Like, walk me through sort of what that process was like, getting your first few customers and then really building your client base.
Yeah, this is Jill. I will definitely speak to that, as it was, quite an insane time. We really got it out there, just on social. That was really our main tool, a vehicle for promotion. We, as I had mentioned, we were bootstrapping, so we didn't have PR at the time. We weren't paying for advertising. We weren't doing anything. It was just relying on social media. Britta has a really big following, a very loyal following in the space specifically. So it was also, working with Britta and having her help get it out there. And Britta also has some great editorial contacts and stuff. So there were like some scrappy ways that we were able to get ourselves out there. But that was really, I think, a combination of Britta shouting from the rooftops that she finally has something of her own that you can now,
Amazing.
bring home with you, and all her dedicated followers being so excited about that. And then just having our own vehicle on social as well. And then, I mean, we launched before we were ready. Holiday came and we're like, we have to launch or we're going to miss holiday and we're not ready, but let's do it anyways. We built the site ourselves, like on Shopify. So it was like, it's just super scrappy. It was
I love that.
it was like as soon as we launched, it went gangbusters. Like we just sold, like I was really overwhelmed. We
Wow.
sold a lot right away.
Wow.
And
How did that
so just like
feel?
me, I recruited literally my like little children. So that's like totally illegal. But I like had my little children over Christmas, my husband, like anyone that could help, packing orders, inspecting stones. Like we did it all from my house, QA, like packing, shipping. At the post office, they totally knew me. I would just like come and drop off like a huge, huge amount of boxes. And they're like, "Oh, hi, it's you again." And so like it just was that, in the beginning, and it was really exciting. It was exciting. And like it was a lot, especially to be doing that over Christmas and like, not really having a holiday for yourself. But it was great. I was super excited about it and just like happy that it was resonating with people. So we worked
Wow.
out kinks after, we were able to get through the holiday season and work out any like of the not ready things. So
Mhm.
I do for anyone that's listening that's working on their own projects, I definitely recommend launching before you're ready, because I kind of feel like you never feel like you are.
Mhm.
And that just pushes things out eternally. And it's just, you just got to get it out there. You just got to
Mhm.
go.
Yeah. Launch
So
fast and adjust. It's like my
just do it.
favorite. Yep. Launch fast and
Launch,
adjust.
like
I
fly
love
the
it.
plane while you're building it.
Hmm.
Definitely.
I also have advice too. This is Gianna. I had also had a baby almost exactly when we
Oh
launched,
my God.
and I also advise to not do that.
Or
Definitely don't do that.
you.
There's definitely a time to launch before you're ready, and ideally that's not right after you had a baby.
Oh my
Right
God.
before.
I know. And it's kind of
Yeah.
crazy because I feel like for people that have had children, like if there is this like time where it's like, I felt really creative and like opened up and excited about things when I first had my baby. So it's like, but then you're like obviously so exhausted and everything. So it's interesting how those two things work. But yeah, super, super hard to do both of those things at the same time. Yeah.
Wow. So after the holiday season and, in those first few years, what happened next? Like, did it just take off? Were people sharing it on social? Like, what was your main marketing that was really working for you guys?
I mean, we continued with Instagram being our biggest vehicle. We were able to bring on PR and get, some good press. We got a lot of press. I met with Credo early on, and they were open to taking us. I met with them before we actually even launched our brand.
Oh,
And
wow.
they already said they would take it, but when we were ready. So it
Wow.
was awesome to be so supported by them, and we love working with them. So we launched with them once we kind of like had everything ready to go
Wow.
to them. And then we also expanded into Blue Mercury as well. And there was a lot of people that reached out. We just didn't have the resource to support all the different accounts. So we didn't say yes to everyone. We
Mhm.
just kind of stayed strategic with the people that we were going to work with. And we continued as we, grew. We like expanded with more products and more offerings and working with more vehicles for marketing. So like I said, we started advertising, we hired PR, we did some events, we, expanded on more social media channels, and just all the different avenues of getting yourself out there, working with, we have never worked strongly with the paid influencer. That hasn't been something that we've put a lot that we've ever seen a lot of success with. But what we have done, which happened from the very beginning, is we've been so grateful to have authentically worked with people that just naturally found our products and started using them, that were influencers and promoted them for us. And we built relationships with those people and really like supported them as they supported us. And that's been really like, as far as working with influencers, where things have been most successful is the people that just really authentically love our brand. So
I love that. That's awesome. Now, did you guys ever have any like production hiccups, or because it seems like, you just sort of like created these products and just had them churning out. Were you ever totally sold out and didn't know if you'd ever like sort of get it back on track?
Sold out
Like,
of the Empress Stone so many times. Like, it was
wow.
sold out. Like, yes, we definitely had that. We had to get another factory. I mean, during COVID, it was like a whole supply thing that became a huge issue.
Yeah.
And we definitely have had so many hiccups. It's not like a smooth, like upward slope, but it was definitely like, yeah, we've sold out. We've had like supply issues. We've had, price increases on us from all our suppliers. We've had, just like, there's definitely been like a lot of different challenges along the way and lessons learned and that sort of thing, for sure.
Wow.
So yeah, for sure. There's been
Wow. Yeah.
Working with, these sort of smaller farms, seasonal ingredients. One of the main ingredients in our Empress Sweet Fern Hydro Soothe tonic is sweet fern. And that only gets harvested once a year. It's wild harvested from certified organic land in Quebec. It's this beautiful, beautiful sweet fern, plant water. And we ran out. We just sold more than we expected. And you can't get any more until the next harvest. So it was just like, okay, like we just don't have this until there's another sweet fern harvest.
So what are you doing in that situation? Just like putting everybody on a wait list and then just reaching out as soon as it's back in stock?
We would do wait list, and we definitely have been able to improve that by forecasting. So we hired an operations team that was able to help us forecast better. So what happens with those types of working with small farms is we love working with them, and we just are like so passionate about these like, ingredients that are wild, organically grown, and we know the whole story behind how they were grown and who grows them and how they're tended to. I mean, that's so important to us. But like Britta mentioned, it's very challenging to scale in that format, because they really just like grow enough, and they grow a certain amount. So what we ended up doing is forecasting much farther in advance, which is challenging, but it solves the problem. So they can plant more, for us, or whatever it is. So, or they can try to source with other partner farms, or, if we can tell them in advance enough, we'll be fine. So it's more that it just is like a longer lead time for the forecasting process. But in the cases where we just ran out, like sweet fern, we're like, sorry, you needed to tell us like way back then that's how much you needed, not now. There was, and especially with an ingredient like sweet fern, where it's not like rose, where you can get it from a bunch of different farms. Unfortunately, we just had to be out of stock on the product. So that was unfortunate. It's just like supply issues,
How cool though to be so close to the farmers, and like,
it's really cool. It's super special. And, we try to do that as much as we can, and source with farmers that we like know we know them. I talk to them. I know their like families and their business and like their challenges. And, it's really great to like really understand how the plants are being tended to, and know that kind of like your food, like you appreciate going to the farmer's market and like knowing who's growing your food, or how they're growing it, or, when it was picked, or, that kind of like variety that it is, or you just like know so much more about it than when you buy from like a big raw material supplier that has made an extract from various farms or growing around the world. Like, you just don't know. They don't tell you. They really just don't, by policy. They don't tell you much about their processes.
Wow. That's fascinating. So, okay, what's next for you guys? Where do you want to be going with the company? Any new like products, or, what do you want to be getting into? More workshops? Like, what's exciting for you on the horizon?
This is Jill. Yes, we just launched skincare, and we're super excited about. We launched an amazing jelly cleanser that we're just all so obsessed with. It's got this beautiful honey like texture without the stickiness. It's vegan. We are a vegan brand, so we don't use honey, but we love We love the texture. It's beautiful and super powerful, as it is 100% natural, but it also completely cleanses the face. It doesn't leave you stripped or feeling like tight, and it removes makeup and SPF, and it's very gentle in protecting the skin barrier, which is really important to us. And then we also launched a moisturizer, which is called Moon Bounce. Our Star Nectar Jelly Cleanser is the cleanser, and then we have our Moon Moisturizer, which has a bioretinol ingredient, which we're super in love with. It's a
I saw that one on your website. It looks gorgeous and like
It's
just so
gorgeous.
like fun.
It's fluffy, bouncy, beautiful. It's lightweight. It's good for all skin types, and it has the bioretinol is a retinol alternative that comes from a plant called the rock samphire. It's like a sea fennel that grows along the coast, and is been clinically tested to perform equal or better to both retinol and but I always pronounce it wrong, the Barakuchi oil, the one that's used as an alternative retinol. They've tested it against both of those, and it performs better than both of them without the irritation that you would get. A lot of people get with retinol or sun sensitivity. So super powerful ingredient, but totally completely natural, whole plant. And it's also a very traditionally used ingredient.